A powerful and biting cold has descended upon much of Europe, gripping the continent in a relentless and historic freeze. This isn't just another winter storm, it's a phenomenon that's rewriting the rules of the season and testing the resilience of millions. Far beyond a typical winter chill, the cold has transformed familiar cityscapes into icy, silent worlds. Streets that once bustled with life now echo with the crunch of boots on snow and the hush of falling flakes. Temperatures have plunged to shocking lows, with thermometers across the continent registering numbers not seen in decades. Rivers are freezing over, and the air itself feels sharper, almost electric, as the mercury drops. The deep freeze is transforming landscapes and daily routines. People are forced to dig out their thickest coats, while children find rare joy in snowdrifts that tower above their knees. Public transport slows, and daily commutes become a test of endurance. This Arctic outbreak, driven by powerful atmospheric forces, is sweeping from the Baltic states to Central Europe, leaving no region untouched. The cold air mass moves relentlessly, blanketing entire countries in white and ice. Weather agencies are on high alert as the cold threatens public health, infrastructure, and energy systems. Emergency services are stretched thin, responding to accidents, power outages, and vulnerable citizens in need of warmth and shelter. The scale and intensity of this event are turning weather maps into seas of blue and purple, with meteorologists warning of record-breaking lows and urging people to take precautions. Estonia, for example, faces temperatures 9 degrees Celsius below average, a massive deviation that's straining heating systems and challenging even the most winter-hardened residents. The cold changes everything: how people dress, how much energy is needed, and how cities function. Layers of clothing become essential, and the demand for electricity and gas surges as homes and businesses fight to keep the cold at bay. As of January 24, 2026, the freeze is a tangible reality for millions. News headlines capture the severity, while aerial views reveal cities frozen in time, their streets and rooftops buried under thick snow. The silence of snow-covered cities and the bite in the air are unmistakable. Even the busiest squares are hushed, and every breath forms a visible cloud in the frigid air. This is more than a cold snap. It's an atmospheric drama with real-world consequences. Emergency rooms see a rise in cold-related injuries, pipes burst in homes, and energy plants work overtime to keep the lights on. To understand why Europe feels like the Arctic, we must look high above, to the polar vortex. This swirling mass of cold air, usually trapped far to the north, has broken loose, sending waves of frigid air southward. The story of this deep freeze begins in the stratosphere, where shifts in wind and pressure have set the stage for one of the coldest spells Europe has seen in a generation. The polar vortex is a massive spinning top of frigid air high above the Arctic. When strong, it acts as a fence, locking the coldest air around the North Pole. This keeps extreme cold away from Europe and North America most winters. The vortex's powerful winds form a jet stream that circles the pole, containing Arctic air. As long as the vortex is stable, Europe enjoys milder winters. The temperature contrast between the pole and the south fuels the vortex's strength. A strong vortex means fewer outbreaks of severe cold. But the vortex isn't a storm, it's a large-scale pattern shaping our weather for months. When it's stable, the jet stream flows predictably, bringing typical winter weather. But what happens when this spinning top wobbles or weakens? That's when the Arctic's cold can escape, and that's exactly what's happening now. Sometimes the polar vortex, an immense spinning mass of cold air high above the Arctic, faces a dramatic disruption known as sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW. This rare phenomenon can send shockwaves through the atmosphere, setting the stage for extraordinary weather events. When SSW strikes, temperatures in the stratosphere can rise by 50 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few days. This rapid warming high above the pole weakens the vortex, causing it to wobble, lose its tight structure, and sometimes even split apart. The once stable circulation starts to unravel. The result? The fence that usually keeps frigid Arctic air locked in place breaks down. Suddenly, that cold air is free to spill southward, surging into regions unaccustomed to such deep freezes. The jet stream, which acts like a high-altitude river of wind, becomes wavy and distorted. These waves allow lobes of cold air to plunge deep into Europe, Asia, and North America, bringing dramatic temperature drops and wild weather swings. This year, the vortex has stretched to its limits and is forecast to collapse entirely in early February. Meteorologists are watching closely as the atmosphere prepares for a major shift. As a result, Siberian and Arctic air are now pouring into Europe, creating a direct pipeline of frigid air that sweeps across the continent. Cities from Paris to Moscow are bracing for a relentless onslaught of cold. This isn't just a passing cold front, it's a fundamental shift in the entire hemisphere's weather. The sudden change can transform mild winter days into blizzards and icy winds almost overnight. The collapse of the vortex rearranges weather patterns across the northern hemisphere, influencing not just Europe, but also North America and Asia. Weather systems are thrown into chaos, and forecasts become more challenging. For Europe, this means a persistent Siberian air mass and brutal cold that can last for weeks. People bundle up, cities grind to a halt, and energy demands soar as temperatures plummet. The impact is widespread, affecting hundreds of millions of people. Transportation, infrastructure, and daily life are all disrupted by the relentless cold and snow. This is a major atmospheric event, not just a local chill. The scale and intensity of the cold can reshape entire landscapes and leave lasting marks on communities. The breakdown of the vortex is the engine behind Europe's deep freeze, driving the cold wave that sweeps from Siberia to the Atlantic. And as the days unfold, its effects are only beginning to be felt. The story of this winter is still being written, one snowstorm at a time. With the polar vortex weakened, a relentless river of frigid Siberian and Arctic air is now surging southward into Europe, sweeping across the continent with astonishing speed and intensity. This powerful flow of cold air is not just a typical winter chill. It's a dramatic shift in the atmosphere, triggered by disruptions high above the Earth. The air mass is dry, dense, and biting, far harsher than the damp, milder chills that usually come from the Atlantic. It cuts through layers of clothing, stinging exposed skin, and making even short walks outside feel like a challenge. Eastern and Central Europe are bearing the brunt of this cold snap. In Estonia, temperatures have plunged to -12 degrees Celsius, an astonishing 9 degrees below the seasonal average, turning city streets into icy corridors and blanketing towns in deep snow. Poland and Hungary are also in the grip of this Arctic blast, with temperatures running 6 degrees below normal. Residents are waking up to frozen landscapes, snow-covered parks, and a persistent chill that lingers day and night. This stubborn mass of cold air refuses to budge, settling over the region and bringing day after day of sub-zero temperatures. The cold is relentless, with little relief in sight as the icy grip tightens. As a result, the demand for heating is soaring. Households and businesses are turning up their radiators, and energy grids across the region are being pushed to their limits, struggling to keep up with the surge in usage. The journey of this cold air is nothing short of remarkable. It travels thousands of kilometers, sweeping from the frozen expanses of Siberia, across the vast Eurasian landmass, and finally into the very heart of Europe. As it moves, this Arctic air transforms the continent, coating roads and railways in ice, challenging transportation networks, and testing the resilience of infrastructure and communities alike. Meteorologists are working around the clock, closely tracking the path of this cold surge. Their forecasts are crucial for helping cities prepare and for warning which areas will be hit hardest in the days ahead. For now, much of Europe remains firmly in the grip of this Siberian outbreak. From Paris to Prague, iconic landmarks are shrouded in snow and frost, creating a winter landscape rarely seen in recent years. This deep freeze is a direct result of dramatic stratospheric events, powerful disruptions in the upper atmosphere that have sent shockwaves down to the surface, unleashing this extraordinary cold. As the continent endures this battle with Arctic air, daily life is transformed. Streets are quieter, routines are disrupted, and communities are reminded of nature's power to reshape the world in a matter of days. The cold snap is reshaping daily life across Europe. People bundle up, cars struggle to start, and public transport faces delays. Energy demand has skyrocketed, putting grids and reserves to the test. Governments and utilities are working to prevent shortages and protect the vulnerable. Agriculture, infrastructure, and transportation are all under strain. Emergency services are on high alert for health and safety risks. Communities are coming together to support those most at risk. This deep freeze is a test of resilience and preparation for extreme weather. Paradoxically, this extreme cold is linked to a rapidly warming Arctic. Arctic amplification, faster warming and sea ice loss, disrupts weather patterns. As the Arctic warms, the temperature contrast fueling the vortex weakens. A weaker vortex is more likely to wobble and break, letting cold air escape south, So, while the planet warms, severe winter cold can still strike Europe and North America. This is the climate paradox. Warming can mean more extremes, not just milder winters. A 2025 MIT study confirmed the link between a stretched vortex and severe winters. Climate change is about disruption, not just gradual warming. The current deep freeze is a chilling example of this complexity. Extreme cold is not evidence against climate change, it's part of its unpredictable reality. Europe isn't alone. The same vortex breakdown is freezing the United States. Arctic air is plunging deep into the country, affecting 230 million people. Northern states face life-threatening lows, down to -34 degrees Celsius. Widespread weather alerts and emergency preparations are underway. Infrastructure is strained, with high risks of power outages and travel chaos. The storm brings heavy snow and ice, mirroring Europe's crisis. This is a hemispheric event, not a local one. The polar vortex's collapse is sending shockwaves across continents. It's a powerful lesson in how interconnected our climate truly is. As January turns to February, Europe faces a dynamic weather period. The polar vortex's collapse will drive major changes, with models in strong agreement. Early February may bring a brief warm-up to Central and Southern Europe. But Northern Europe will likely stay cold, creating a sharp temperature divide. By mid-February, a blocking high could trigger a second, more prolonged cold spell. This could bring more snow and test energy supplies again. Winter is far from over. Another Arctic blast may be on the way. Forecasters urge Europe to prepare for more deep cold ahead. This winter's deep freeze is a clear signal. Our weather patterns are changing. The link between a warming Arctic and a breakdown-prone polar vortex is crucial. Climate change means more frequent, intense extremes, not just gradual warming. Resilient infrastructure, prepared energy markets, and weather-aware communities are essential. The events of 2026 show how a single atmospheric event can impact millions. A warmer world doesn't eliminate severe cold, it can make it worse. By understanding and preparing for these extremes, we can adapt to a new climate reality. The new normal is a climate of extremes. Our future depends on paying attention.